Hello, my friends. Brian King, the Mindset King here. It's very common in life for people to have things that they're afraid of. People are afraid of spiders. They're afraid of getting in an accident on the way to work. They're afraid if they don't step over a crack, they're going to break their mother's back, whatever, it is. People have their fears. What if you become afraid, though, of something as fundamental as breathing? How do you escape that, for crying out loud? It's with you everywhere. Every single second of every single day as you're breathing. So why on earth would somebody become afraid of breathing? Well, let me tell you. For the past year or so, I've been chronically short of breath, where even resting, I feel like breathing is an effort. And over the past year, it's become progressively worse, not catastrophically so, but noticeably so. So I recently saw a pulmonologist, lung doctor, who did a variety of tests on me and concluded that my MS is now affecting my breathing muscles. So he's going to do some additional testing to see if maybe he wants to put me on oxygen to kind of give my breathing muscles a break. We'll see. But considering the fact that anxiety seems to be a part of my essential programming, I started fretting over this a little bit. And when you get anxious, it affects your breathing. It makes your breathing shorter, tenser, and so on. So by fretting about it, I was exacerbating the problem. So it's hard enough when you feel chronically short of breath, but then when you start focusing on the very thing you don't like, you create more of it. You know how that works, right? The more you think about something that you are afraid of, the more you talk yourself into believing, oh my goodness, it's going to happen. It's going to be a disaster, so on and so forth, and you become catastrophic. So the place my thinking took me was, oh my goodness, I'm going to suffocate to death. And that's not a very comforting thought when you start feeling yourself becoming short of breath because you walked across the room or you went up a flight of stairs and now you're huffing and puffing and you need to sit down. Because for the longest time, people thought, oh, Brian, you're just out of shape. That's the problem. You need to work on your stamina and you need to do more sit-ups and you need to do these things. And when you build up your endurance, your breathing will improve. Well, in theory, yeah. But in my case, because the cause of my shortness of breath is neuromuscular, the circuits for my breathing muscles are short-circuiting. So increasing my endurance is not going to fix that. Not to mention, I have a form of sleep apnea called central sleep apnea, which means when I'm asleep, my brain forgets that it needs to breathe. And so I will stop breathing, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it is, before I start kicking and thrashing because my brain thinks I'm suffocating and wants me to start breathing. But now I have a BiPAP machine that will force air into my lungs when I stop breathing during my sleep. So breathing is kind of a tricky situation for my brain, and yet it's essential for life. And ironically, when I started doing my meditation practice about 25 years ago, the first thing we learn how to do is to observe our breath, to just watch it come in and out, feel the rising and falling of our bellies, in my case, a very generous belly, to just become aware of the ever-changing moment of life and not looking to control it, but just looking to observe it and let it be. So it occurred to me that I could use this meditation to reacquaint myself with my breathing, to not look to control it as much, to not fret about it, because, as I mentioned earlier, the fretting was causing me problems. So this morning, I took it upon myself to go back to the beginning of my meditation practice, observe my breath again, and just kind of have a friendly chat with it. Instead of thinking, oh my God, it's getting shorter again, this is going to be terrible, I just observed and noticed in some parts that my chest felt a little tenser than others. It took a bit of a more effort to take the breath, but that's okay because that tension passed. It was followed by another breath. Sometimes the breath is easier than the previous breath, but that's okay. It's just change. It's that ongoing change in life that we all try to manage as best we can, that we all try to make peace with, not become afraid of, to just make our way through life, adjusting to changes as best we can. And I'm seeing that this could potentially be a tremendous way of managing this anxiety. I don't really like the word coping too much because coping makes everything sound like it's a crisis. So the just lightening up my attitude towards it so that it's no longer a source of fear or anxiety. It's more of that reminder to come back home to what's essential, that moment to moment change, that being centered, being present, being alert. And I'm looking forward to seeing how I can deal with this latest revelation of my changing breathing and so forth, but not let it bog me down, not let it be something that puts a wall between me and the world, as a lot of things can do when you have a disability, when you have a chronic illness and that illness experiences a decline. It's typical to want to pull back, be a little bit more afraid because, oh my goodness, what are the implications about this latest change with me in the world? I don't want to go out in the world and suddenly find myself helpless because of this new change. That's a typical thing that comes up for me when I experience a decline. But I don't want to be a hermit. I want to be able to engage life. And my breathing issue has been putting up a barrier between me and the world, and I don't want that. And the way to get around it is to find a way to make peace with it and know that you can manage it and be resilient and be resourceful, regardless of the new issue. But this doesn't have to apply to breathing. This can apply to anything. And I'll leave it to you to think about an aspect of your life where this may be applicable. So that's all I've got to say for now. I hope this has been helpful for you. If so, drop a comment, let me know. And feel free to share it with a couple thousand people who may be in your tribe who could benefit from this as well. And until we talk next, this has been Brian. Thanks for being you.